Today we are looking at the R36S. I spent a lot of time lately playing and thinking about handheld PC like the ROG Ally, the Steam Deck or the GPD Win Mini. Don't get me wrong, they are excellent products and the Steam Deck made that category mainstream almost 2 years ago. But what if you just want to play retro game on the go and don't want to break the bank? The R36S is the budget king for console between $40 to $50 USD, with a Game Boy-like form factor. The console is a clone of a clone of a clone of a clone. Never thought I would wrote that sentence before. If you want to know more about it, Taki Udon did an excellent video about it, and the link is in the description below. So what is the R36S? Well, to simplify, it's a clone of the Embernic RG353V for $20 USD cheaper. You can buy it on AliExpress, but sadly it doesn't ship to Canada. I was lucky to know someone that was in the States for the holiday and they were able to bring the console back to me. There's not a lot of spec on the webpage when you order, so I only got the detail about the console when I received it. And by the way, the English on the box is hilarious. It comes with gamepad, 9 major, I think they mean 9 major emulator, a chip, and a TF card. Now if you turn the box around, you get the spec. The processor is the RK3326. Since 2021, a lot of consoles have been released with this CPU. So a lot of reviewers got tired of talking of all those clones. But it's my first one, so I'll try to judge it fairly and avoid bias. The GPU is the Mali G31. You get 1 gig of RAM. You get 2 TF cards, one for the OS and one for the ROM. The ROMs. We need to talk about that. The console came with over 15,000 ROM on the SD card. But don't worry, I'm pretty sure they paid to get all of them licensed to use with the device. It's not the first time I encounter a situation like this. I think the Retroid 2 or 2 Plus had a hidden partition you could boot to access the secret ROM. Normally, for security reasons, I don't want any of those SD cards close to my computer. So I normally just put that memory card in the electronic recycle bin and forget about it. But see, I have an issue with this console. The plastic shell is uneven, so half of the time the card don't even get out. The battery is 3200 mAh, and they say 6 hours of battery life. The way I decided to test it is that in ArkOS there's like a demo mode, and that if you're not touching the control for like 10 to 15 minutes, it just shows some gameplay in a loop. The battery cover is removable and you'll be able to change the battery down the road. The D-pad is subpar. If you're playing an action game like Contract, it's gonna be really tough to aim at 45 degrees. There's a home button, but it's only decorative. I hope one day you can map it to something, but if you want to quit a game, you need to hit Start Select 2 times. I was really confused when I got the console and the home button was not doing anything. Of course, I didn't read the manual, but... The shoulder buttons are as loud as a Lorna Shore concert. You will not use them with someone sleeping next to you. The face buttons are mushy, but they are okay. The joystick are switch style, and they are very short. The mono speaker is horrible and you will get distortion at low volume. Turn it off, use earbud with a 3.5mm plug, or just listen to music on your phone while playing. You have been warned. If it seemed I didn't like the console, it's actually not the case. But at this price point, you need to temper your expectation and know what you are buying. Now we need to talk about performance. I would say that there's two tiers of performance that we need to talk about. Up to PlayStation 1, and then PSP, Dreamcast, and N64. Here I'm testing GoldenEye on the N64, and there's lag. Every command seems to go too far or too short. Here I'm playing F-Zero. From time to time the game would freeze for a second, but it's quite playable. Also, no problem for Yoshi Island. Not that it was expected. So I would say that up to PS6 you shouldn't have a problem. And it's the perfect console, and decided to switch it up a little. When you spend a lot of time in using emulation, you sometimes lose perspective about how the game plays on the original hardware. Of course, you can just plug the old hardware, but if you don't have the context or don't remember how things were at that time, it's tough to get a really good idea of how the game is actually performing or why those decisions have been made this way when they program it. I have my PSP 2001 and a copy of Chris's score on UMD. So I decided to check it how it would play, while at the same time having the game running on the R36S. It's also interesting to see how the PSP's color for the screen seem wash out. You can really see that there's like almost 20 years of technology change. I then switched to the Sega Dreamcast. I started with some crazy taxi 2, just running around the city to just see if I could freeze or get a frame drop. Then I switched to Dead or Alive 2. By default, out of the box, the game felt like it was in slow motion. It was using Flycast, so I changed the emulator, and then the game seems to be running more normally. I then decided to test more game. So here we're testing Soul Calibur Broken Destiny on the PSP. So what is the takeaway of this video? Well, if you're looking for a first simulation console or you're on a budget and you would like to have the form factor of a Game Boy versus, let's say, the form factor of a PSP, like a console with a retro emulation console like the Retro 3, the R36S is a good choice if you're able to ship it in your country. It won't break the bank. It's great to play 8 and 16-bit game on the go. And I think it's my use case for it. Like, don't get me wrong, I love my ROG Ally, but I don't want to carry it with me everywhere when I leave the house. But I leave the R36S in my winter jacket pocket, and when I'm commuting or waiting for someone, I get it out of sleep, play a quick session, and continue my game this way. PS6 and older game are great. PSP and 64 Dreamcast, well, it will depend on the game you're playing. So maybe look at more video and try to find if someone played a game that like is really important for you. To give myself a little context, next I will probably look at the RG35XX or the Mio Mini Plus. So stay tuned.